Oh, welcome along to Newcastle Fans TV. It's time for scoring the players on another frustrating afternoon. Karl's ripped his hair out, although it's grown back very quickly.
Yeah, it's growing quite quickly.
Ago you completely scalped it. Ridiculous growth. I'm joined
That's what she said.
Oh, the banter.
She didn't say that.
Joined with Karl and Brandon as Fulham still lead Liverpool by a 1-0.
Yeah.
20 minutes left there. Let's score some players. As always, get involved. Let us know your ratings in the comments.
I wish some players scored today.
Yeah, true.
Would have been nice, but hey ho. Brandon, I'll give you a fairly easy one in Martin Dubravka.
7.5. Did his job. Was strong in aerial duels. Didn't have much to do, but yeah, solid. 7.5.
7.5.
Or if you want 7.
No. You go for 7.5 if you want 7.5. I think
we are allowed to do the halves.
Well. Yeah, you can do halves, but yeah, no, I thought he commanded his box quite well today. There wasn't really anything. Can you? I don't know about you, Karl, but I can't think of a save he had to make. Really,
there was that one header that bounced up just in front of him, but other than that, not really, mate. No. Everything else I kind of expected him to do.
I think he had some important saves in the air from corner kicks and set pieces sometimes, and that's where I think Darlow is shaky. But yeah, solid performance, I think.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Not outstanding, but not. But there was also not much reason to be outstanding. He didn't really get tested, so
yeah. Karl, Emil Kraft, defensively sound, but seemed to get a nosebleed every time there was an attacking chance for him.
Yeah, I think he put a couple of okay crosses in. The only thing, like you say, he was pretty defensively sound. The thing that worries me about him is that he always seems like he's on the back foot before he's even got himself set. But yeah, he didn't do too much wrong. I think Calvin Phillips slightly had the better of him, but we weren't worried too much by it. So, in the context of everything, I'd probably go a 5 for Kraft. Bang in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, it was so frustrating because
going forward.
Yeah, oh God, yeah, absolutely. Because there was some real opportunities to get down that right-hand side, and every time it came to him, either the wrong pass was played, or he'd lose the ball really tamely, or I think he got one cross in all game. And there's more to being a wing back now than just being defensively solid, isn't there, Brandon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had one shot in the first half, which was an okay shot, but the second half, it really wound me up when he shot that ball up in the air and it didn't go anywhere. I think it came from a corner or something, or like a free kick. But defensively, he is out of position a lot as well. But today, I don't think there was much threat coming from Phillips or whatever. So he didn't really get tested, so that's why he looks decent, I think. But I don't rate him at all.
Well, no, I don't think many do. We all know about Emil Kraft, but clean sheet. I'll have Jamal Lascelles, who I thought was nice and solid today. He's starting to get a decent run of form together. But essentially, we were playing against the Championship side today, and so he should have been relatively comfortable. There wasn't really many moments of peril. I think they had one counter-attack where he got a bit caught out of position, the centre-backs, but we recovered well. That was it, really. He was sturdy, solid. It was the least of our problems today. Was the centre-back pairings? As I'll let Brandon. You can continue with Kieran Clark.
I think Kieran Clark was one of our better players today. I would say 8. I rate him 8. Solid and didn't make a mistake. Also had a good header from a corner. Went over though, but yeah.
Not that good then, is it?
Sorry?
It's not that good a header then, is it? Went over.
I don't know what you're saying, man. Jeez.
Karl, translate.
He said it's not that it wasn't that good of a header because it went over.
Oh, well. Thank you for translating.
We're actually from the same place. We don't sound that different.
But Karl, what did you make of Kieran Clark's performance today? Was it a well-deserved 8 that Brandon's given him?
I won't get on Brandon's back, but I personally wouldn't have given him an 8. I think. What did you score yourselves? Sorry,
I give him a 7.
Yeah, so I think it was pretty neat at the back. He's always consistent. To be fair, it's very rare that he makes has a bad game. But I do think he should have done better with the header. I personally think that 8's optimistic, but yeah, it was all right. We didn't do anything wrong. I'd have gone. Me personally, I would have given him a 6, but that's just me being harsh, probably.
I probably would have given him a 7 as well. I thought he was fine.
Yeah, I just thought Lascelles was slightly better than he was. That was all. I didn't think he had a bad game at all.
Fair enough. Let's stick with you then, Karl. Paul Dummett.
It's one of those where a lot of us probably gave Paul Dummett a lot of stick when he was first at the club, and he's just grown and grown and grown into the role. And he's a solid left back at the end of the day, or a solid centre back when he needs to play centre back. I rarely see him have a bad game defensively, other than when he's kind of thought he was on ice at the beginning and slips over and kind of megged himself or whatever he did. But he put in some excellent challenges. It's just like you said, Sam, on the watch along. He's not someone that we're going to be expecting to bomb on because he hasn't got the legs for that, unfortunately. But I think
he is most underrated player, or for now, he's underrated. Let's say it that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
If you look at the likes of Monkey or Kraft, I think I rate Dummett better than those slots, Murphy or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
I prefer him to be.
Score-wise, I'd give them a 7.5.
Really?
Yeah.
Not that high?
Honestly, I genuinely thought, from what I saw, I thought it was because of how the game went. I thought it was one of the more solid players on the pitch today.
Plus, he had a critical tackle as well when West Brom came on the counter-attack.
Yeah, fantastic tackle. I mean, a lot of people are agreeing with you in the comments. I think that's a bit too high for me, because what did he do getting forward?
Yeah, I think it's like you said. I suppose if we're scoring Kraft in this similar way because he's not doing enough getting forward, I appreciate that. So yeah, what would you have scored him then?
I would have scored him 7.5 if he was playing centre back.
Okay, if he's solely just defensive.
Yeah, because I think he played well. I'm not doubting that at all. I think he played well. I like Paul Dummett, but just offered nothing going forward.
Fair enough.
The same as, is it you expect from left backs and right backs to be more attacking, and that's not what he's bringing?
Yeah, I think we have to now, don't we? We have to expect them to be doing that. So yeah, that's a fair comment, 100%.
Yeah, no, I'm fully aware it was a back four and not a back five. But at the end of the day, a lot of teams play with a back four, and their wing backs have to. That's part of being a wing back now. You have to get up and support the guys, especially when we've got such a narrow midfield, like we have with the three and wherever the hell Jeff Hendrick was playing, which we'll come on to. Jeez. Yeah, it's just you need more. It's more. I said to you at half time, it was a lot like Stoke, how they used to line up with essentially four centre backs along the back line. It was absolutely solid as a rock but offered nothing in a very winnable game. Let's move on. But yeah, 7.5 for Paul Dummett. He had a good game. I will agree with that, absolutely. John Joe Shelby. I think he worked really hard today, which is not something that you could say. The problem was with John Joe that because he was having to work so hard defensively and having to come across and cover and put a few good challenges into Conor Gallagher. And when we got caught out and West Brom was on the break, John Joe busted an absolute gut to get back to cover the runner so that West Brom's attack couldn't develop even more. Otherwise, he would have been through one-on-one had John Joe not worked.
There was another one as well, mate, and I said it myself. I think Calvin Phillips had broke free on the left with the ball. And I think John Joe might have lost the ball actually with a way, like he's gone to pass it inside and not even looked, give it away to Phillips, and he's managed to bust a gut 40 yards and then bully him off the ball. And I was like, okay, that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see.
You know what's funny? Like, since he did the Charlie Austin podcast, and he said he's trying to bust his nuts off and work for Bruce and everything, he actually sticks to his words now somehow. It looks like a changed man after that Charlie Austin podcast. So almost.
Yeah, it's a good point to make, to be fair, because you've got a point. The reason why I've given him a 6 and I've not gone any higher was because there wasn't much creativity going on from that midfield today. There was a lot of poor decision making. He had a kind of half chance with that corner kick routine, which he was never going to score from that angle in a million years, unless it took a bit of a nasty deflection. But there was just not enough attacking intent against a team that will be playing in the Championship. Maybe
when it comes to Jonjo Shelvey, like it is all. If he's playing more defensively, he's lacking attacking wise. But if he's more in attacking kind of thinking, defensively he's being lazy. It's like all or nothing. It's like what you want from Shelvey that day, almost. You know what I mean?
Well, out of that midfield three, because Willock at the start was more advanced. Obviously, Willock dropped back in the second half when the substitution was made. Shelvey was the man who was supposed to be getting in and creating, and he didn't do enough of that. So that's why I've gone for a 6 and not higher. But the effort and work rate was there from John Joe, which was promising.
Yeah, definitely.
Brandon, Isaac Hayden, he was on the kind of left-hand side of the narrow three in midfield, and I don't think it suits him at all. What did you make of his performance today?
I prefer him just before defensive fourth, like he always plays, but I would say 6.5. He's decent, didn't make mistakes. But again, it's against West Brom, so maybe you want to expect a little bit more from him, but because he's been always so solid.
Karl, do you agree?
Yeah, I think he's definitely our most consistent player, and I think he was okay in breaking the ball up. I feel like you said, like he's playing him on that left hand side. I think Bruce is almost trying to force him to play high, and that just doesn't suit him at all. So it's a strange one. I feel like you've got our most consistent player being handicapped from playing his best position, because we don't know what to do with the players that we've got at the moment.
I mean, he got switched from there because I think it was.
Fucking hell, man! Again offside. Sorry.
Sam's froze
today as well. Am I back?
You're back.
I'm back. Yeah.
You're
so the point I was making was before I was hastily frozen. Shelvey was out on that left of the three in the previous games before Wolves. Hayden got moved there for Wolves, and today, whoever's there, I don't think it suits him.
Yeah.
At all. So whoever's there is being kind of handicapped somewhat. But how do you solve that? Probably not by playing such a narrow midfield. But hey ho, that's Steve Bruce's problem. Karl, Jeff Hendrick. Where was he playing today and why?
I don't really know where he was playing, to be honest. I don't know. Why I don't know where he's playing. Because it feels like Steve Bruce just wants to get him in the side because for some reason he has to play the majority of games. I don't know. It was a flat performance from him. It was a Jeff Hendrick performance. Does that make sense? It was a Jeff Hendrick performance.
Well, he was the top Newcastle goal scorer on the pitch today.
How embarrassing is that? I don't even know what to say. I don't really remember him doing anything. Sorry about that. Moving forward, I didn't see him break up the ball much, to be honest. I mean, a 4.
He done fuck all, man. Really?
Yeah. It's 4. It's 4 too generous.
I think he was largely invisible because it was like he'd been shoehorned in there in a position. Well, I don't even know what position he was playing in.
Yeah,
because it was just bizarre, and I think it was mainly down to the manager of why that happened. But it was very, very odd that he played, and that instead of like a Dwight Gale and a Jacob Murphy or an Andy Carroll or something like that, it just
so annoying.
It was. We'll come on to it when we speak about Steve Bruce, because I think there was a very negative approach to this game, which we will go into. But first, I will rate Joe Willock, who I thought was fantastic in the first half.
Yeah, he
absolutely superb. Died a bit in the second when he got pulled back into the midfield three when Gale came on, but made some fantastic runs to support. There was, again, we were lacking the final ball, the final pass. We just needed a bit of intelligence, a bit of composure. But I thought Willock was really bright today, and I'm giving him a 7 as well. There's potential there, whether or not.
Yeah, totally agree.
Whether or not it's potential for Newcastle United or whether it's potential for Arsenal, I don't know. But
I mean, I don't know about you, Sam, but based on today's performance, I'm happy we've signed him over Maitland-Niles based on today. Don't know about yourself.
If Maitland-Niles wanted to come and play right back, then...
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I wouldn't take him. I'm just, out of the two right now.
Corner Liverpool.
I'm happy that he's there because he looks like a good option potentially to sit in that false 9.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still irritated he missed that chance in the first half against Wolves. But yeah, he did cover a lot of ground. He worked hard, put a shift in. There was he was probably our most creative player in the whole 90 minutes, which again probably isn't a good thing that he was, but I'm not begrudging him that because he did okay. He's been a positive signing for sure, but he just needs to help with that final pass, make the right decision, and put that chance away like the one against Wolves. But there you go. Ryan Fraser, Brandon started the game well, but kind of faded again in the second half.
Second half he wasn't great. First half he was good. I like his service that he tried to give to at least to bring balls into the 16-yard box. I would say 7. I used to serve it 7. 6.87, I would say, but give him a 7.
You give
don't want to make it too hard again.
It's your mark 7. I think that's probably a touch generous. What do you think, Karl?
Yeah, I think it is as well. I personally would have gone with probably give him a 6. There was work rate there. He just needs to improve his timing of his runs. And like, don't get me wrong, his output in terms of crossing is great, but he does need to work on them because I'd rather he was able to put 3 or 4 decent crosses in rather than having to put 10 in and only one of them being a decent one, if that makes sense. So I think if there's definitely a high ceiling for him in terms of what he can do for us, but I just don't think he's there yet. So I think he didn't necessarily do anything wrong, but I do think 7's quite high. I'd have gone a 6 personally.
I can tell Brandon's watching the Liverpool game, and he's a good 15 seconds behind me because I know what that reaction was about. But dying minutes and Liverpool still trail. Fulham are still winning, so they'll be 1 point behind us and level on points with Brighton. Ryan Fraser gets a 7. Karl, Joelinton just got to hit it, hasn't
he? Yeah, mate, I'm so annoyed about that, but I don't want that to take away from his performance today because I thought he did very well today. He did very well. He's got to hit that for me, and I appreciate some people will say that, well, if he did hit it and he didn't score, we'd be moaning at him to square the ball, and maybe we would have, but at the end of the day, the opportunity was there for him to get a goal today, put pressure on West Brom, and then they've got to come and try and get a point back or take all 3 points. But you mentioned it at half-time. I thought he was very, very strong on the ball today, held the ball up well. There's a couple of times, I can't remember who we played early on in the season. It might have even been Spurs because he seems to have a good game against Spurs where he was playing on the left. Obviously, he's playing on the right today, but he was cutting inside. He held on to the ball well, took a few people on, and was able to bring in Fraser and Willock, which I wanted him to do. I don't think he had a bad game at all. I think he had a relatively good game. I think I would personally give him. I think he was worth a 7 today. But yeah, he's had a massive opportunity to score a goal, hasn't taken it, and it is what it is. I don't begrudge him for trying to be unselfish, but if he's in form and he's got bags of confidence, he's absolutely fucking burying that, because it was a perfect. People were saying that the angle was tight. I thought it was a perfect angle for him. Callum Wilson's there. You've got the whole goal to look at. He's just got to put that across the face of goal, and he's beating Johnson all day long. If Johnson gets a hand to it, Fraser's there anyway. So it was frustrating, but I thought he had a good game.
I agree with everything you just said. But
I'm just thinking about something now. Like, maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but like, I'm thinking now, like, because I gave Fraser a 7, right? Do we want Fraser to play along with Callum Wilson instead of ASM, as ASM don't really been performing well last couple of weeks? Because Fraser looks like he can get this service to Callum Wilson in the box, and ASM isn't really doing that.
Well, it doesn't matter because ASM's injured. So.
I know, but like, when it comes to the point that ASM is fit again.
Well, then it should be 4-2-3-1 and they all should be playing. But for some reason, Steve Bruce can't see that. As it finishes at Anfield, Liverpool 0, Fulham 1. Oh, it's getting tight at the bottom.
Terrible.
But Joelinton gets a 7. I think he played well. Dwight Gale, for me, came on a good substitution. How either him or Carroll didn't start, I will never, ever know. Again, because Steve Bruce didn't want to change his system, Gale struggled and wasn't in the game. Couldn't get into the game. Couldn't do anything. Can either of you two remember a real positive attacking moment from Dwight Gale today?
No, that's the second or third time he's had a chance to make a difference in a game that he's worthy of making a difference in, and he hasn't done it, which is frustrating.
Very much so. Oh, it hadn't finished at Anfield. The ref blew for something else. Liverpool have a throw and the goal. Is it a corner? Well, the keeper's up for it anyway, and it's come to nothing, and that'll be that. Dwight Gale's getting a 4, did nothing. It is now full time at Anfield. Fulham have won 1-0.
That's something else that really frustrates me, though. Instead of Gale, fucking Steve Bruce.
You could have made an argument for. We'll come on to Bruce. Don't worry about that, my friend. But you could have made an argument to go 4-4-2 today.
Yeah, definitely.
And that would have allowed Joelinton and Gale possibly to play together, and you might have seen some real good stuff from them, because you could have had Fraser on the left, Willock, Shelby, Hayden, whatever. But Gale in that system doesn't work. But there you go. Andy Carroll, surprisingly, gets a non-applicable. What an absolute piss take. And the reason for that piss take is Steve Bruce. Who wants to go first?
Not me.
Karl Brandon.
I will do it, because he's taking the fucking piss out of us as fans, out of Andy Carroll and the adult players. He's not a Geordie, man, really. I'm gonna say it. He's a Manchester United fan, and now he sees that the fans are going so against him and want him out. He's just like, I'll show them who's boss and who makes the decisions here. It's a joke. Bringing Andy Carroll on for 30 seconds. What's the point? But I think Andy Carroll had to show some character and said, like, I'm not gonna do it. Fuck off. Like, that would say something to Bruce, though, because now he feels like he can still take the piss out of us all the time, again and again. It's really frustrating, you know. Why bring him on for 30 seconds? What was he thinking? What was his thought process, if he really has any?
I mean, the issue,
because I also cannot wrap my head around why bring Hendrick in. Joelinton, okay, he played good 20 minutes for at the Wolves game, so I kind of understand he played Joelinton, but it was clearly a game for Gale to start, and he started Joelinton okay, but then bring Carroll in for 30 seconds. What's the point?
What score would you give Steve Bruce today, Brandon?
Gotta be generous. A 1 because of the result. How can you play Hendrick? How can you play Carroll for 30 seconds? Explain it.
Yeah. I'd love to be able to explain it. Karl, your turn. Let rip.
I've said this time and time again, he's the most arrogant, delusional manager that we've ever had at Newcastle United. And not out and out arrogant in your face, but the more you listen to him, the more you understand how delusional he is. He's been talking about us, saying that we're going to be okay. Fulham have just beat Liverpool. We're now 1 point ahead, one point outside the relegation zone.
Yeah,
with a game.
Don't look like
with a game in hand.
Fair enough. We don't look like scoring goals, but even if we're in that position where we've got a game in hand with a chance to go 6 points clear of the relegation zone, you decide that you're going to leave 2 strikers on the bench and play a central midfielder in a false 9 role with Hendrick, who has had maybe 1 good or 2 good games this season, who offers nothing to the side realistically, and set up defensively against the Championship side.
But also he has the balls to say that this is not a must-win game. Where is his head?
Yeah,
like
100%.
What the fuck, man?
So
how can he? Did he go to school? See, Bruce, can he do maths? Like
it
he knows if Liverpool loses today, like they did, it's 1 point, man. Although we got a game in hand. How can you say this? How is this not a must winnable? Every game should be should be a must win. Even we play Liverpool.
Honestly,
like if you see Fulham. Sorry, man.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I agree. I'm not just saying this to give it the big one or anything like that. If I saw him in the street, I would have a conversation with him on here. I would tell him exactly the same thing, that he is a piss poor manager when it comes to Premiership standard, and his tactics are far gone in terms of how football is played. This in this day and age. And don't get me wrong, Graham Jones, if he also has I'm not just going to put it on him. Graham Jones also has to take responsibility for today, because he's got to have some sort, unless Steve Bruce is that arrogant, which there is potential that he's just not listening to him, because I don't believe that Graham Jones has thought the best thing to do is not play a striker against two centre halves that aren't very good. Let's be honest, we can get at them. We've got more than, even with ASM and Miggy out, we've got more than enough to beat West Brom. You'd have thought, but he's not even give us the opportunity to do that. He's cut our legs off from the start. So I'm just.
But don't you think Graham Jones is a little bit hesitant? Don't you think Graham Jones is a little bit hesitant to speak his mind clearly, because he knows Steve Bruce is being backed on the likes of Johnny and Ashley?
Maybe, but he needs to, mate. It needs to. At the end of the day, we need to stay up. Like, why is it taking us as fans to turn around and say that we're in a relegation battle? I bet he still won't say anything today. After Fulham have just beaten Liverpool, we still won't believe that we're in a relegation battle. And that's where I've said to Sam and I've said to people, I am legitimately preparing for the Championship now, because nothing's going to change, and I don't believe this man has enough about him to be able to set us up properly against the sides where we need to get a result. His luck has run out for me, and I think we're fucked.
Is there a slight chance Bruce gets sacked, though, now after today?
No.
I'm afraid not as well.
No. I think that Mike Ashley has probably been advised regarding this takeover. If they really believe it's going to go through, it's going to go through either way. And I don't think he's bothered whether we're in the Premiership anymore. I really don't. And if he is, and I know that sounds ridiculous, I applaud Mike Ashley to be this really astute businessman. But if he was, then he'd have got rid of Steve Bruce by now. Like, we are really in the shit. And even if he does now, I think we've still not got enough time to get out of it. I really don't. So, yeah, 0 from me, Sam. Sorry.
A 0 from you. Okay. I'm agreeing. I think it feels dirty to say this. I'm agreeing with Brandon. I'm giving him a 1 because he made a good substitution with Dwight Gale at the right time.
Okay.
Bring for Hendrick.
That's it. I mean, that shouldn't have needed to be done. This stunk of a manager who's had enough and wants his payout.
100%. 100%.
He's gone to second bottom of the league, looking for a point, setting up way too negatively. When you've got 2 strikers on the bench, you've got Elliot Anderson and Matty Longstaff back in fucking Newcastle, wondering what the hell they've got to do, wondering why the hell they've signed contracts, wondering why this bellend who's lost the dressing room is still in charge. I've said months ago, and I've seen a few comments just coming round to the idea. I said months ago, I bloody love Scott Parker as Newcastle manager.
Yeah,
I bloody love Scott Parker, former club captain, and shows a young up and coming manager, not a dinosaur like Steve Bruce. I respect what he's achieved in his career. Very well done for it. Premier League winning captain, Manchester United fan, which he is. Well done. You've managed a lot of games, but your time's up. Your time's up. You're finished. You're done. It comes to us all eventually. And he's now showing the same arrogance, the same attitude like Steve McLaren did.
Yeah.
And he's just an absolute embarrassment. If he had any self-respect whatsoever, and any respect for the club, any respect for Newcastle United, he would have fucked off months ago.
You know what, Sam? I agree 100%. I used to say this to myself week in, week out. If he's got any self-respect, he'd leave the club. But then it took me a while to think, well, he hasn't got any because he managed Blues, went to Villa, he managed Sheffield, he literally just left Sheffield Wednesday to come to us. Like, he has zero self-respect. I think that's telling that, because I was the same. I was like, if you've got any, you must leave, regardless of the money. But I think his past has already shown, really, he hasn't got any anyway. He doesn't care, does he? He doesn't care what people think about him at all. Or he certainly doesn't show that way. And his way of showing that is just biting back at everyone. He's a wanker.
And this as well, this Graham Jones nonsense needs to stop. The guy's a coach. He's not a manager. He's not a saviour either. He's not going to change anything drastic.
What I meant by that is I just thought he'd be able to have more influence on if we're going to hold Bruce accountable.
No, I wasn't having a dig at you at all.
Yeah, no.
It's just made me feel very uncomfortable from a man who was not exactly welcomed into the club. It was all very weird the way Jones came in, and then we won a game, and then he was held up as a messiah. It made me feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's easy for us to do that as fans, isn't it? I think we do as well have to be realistic when it comes to those sorts of things and be like, we do have to be realistic and say that can't all be down to just Graham Jones. But like you've said, like Steve Bruce, he needs to. I 100% agree with you now. I think he's at the point where he's trying to get himself sacked. 100%. He doesn't care about this club anymore.
Just for a payout.
He's trained 2 days in two true training sessions in 8 days in preparation for this game.
I thought Premier League teams train every day almost, but
I think that, I was under the impression they had the day off after games. If the manager's being nice, they'll have the day after. And that was it. Anyone is better than Bruce.
I want to hold this to you guys, because I saw this in the comments somewhere on Facebook, I think. When Ruud Gullit was coach from Newcastle and Alan Shearer stepped in the owner's office, basically, and said, I want Ruud Gullit gone. Do you think, and that happened, do you think that if Jamal Lascelles steps in to Ashley's or Charlie's office and say, we don't want to work anymore under Steve Bruce, do you think he will be sacked? Or
that may have already happened.
How much are the parachute payments? Is it 100 million?
No, I don't think it's that much, and it's split over 2 seasons as well.
2 seasons.
But the thing is, as me and Liam touched upon this in the preview, if we do go down, and as of today, so before today, I wasn't chilled, but I thought we'd have enough.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm of the opinion that I think we will go down now, and I can't do another season in the Championship. Fulham, I mean, if we don't go down, I think it'll be Brighton or Burnley because I'm convinced Fulham will stay up, and I always have done. I always thought Fulham would stay up.
That's why I asked you about those Brighton fixtures, because I don't think Fulham are going to be the ones to go down. Not at all.
I bloody love Brighton to go down.
But also Fulham plays decent football as well.
Yeah, but it's telling, isn't it? Scott, like, I think you both said, the lads said in the group, like, Fulham are fighting to stay up because of the type of manager they've got there as well. The whole ethos. Steve Bruce can't even fucking answer questions from the media without feeling offended.
His whole attitude, his whole demeanour in all of his press conferences now stink.
Absolutely.
You just think, well, you just either deluded, thick, or just an absolute prick that wants to pay off.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But like for example, Forey was saying, like, maybe we need someone to go down to the Championship. I don't agree with Forey on that. Like, because it is us, Newcastle United, playing in the Championship is just a disgrace, and you don't want to see your club in the Championship. Well, you think we are the best. We have the best fans in the world, and we have to perform on the highest level. So
the only reason I was asking about like parachute payments, because I was like, if it's like 40 or 50 million for the first season, can Steve Bruce, does Mike actually think, well, I'll just drop the price because I'm not really losing out on any money by like 50 million?
I don't know, but the price would have to decrease around 80 to 100 million, not 40.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I was going to say if it was 100, then it would make sense, but I just don't understand it at all.
But look, we need 3 wins, 2 wins and a draw, perhaps. I can't see us beating Aston Villa. I can't see us beating Brighton. I think Burnley
I can see us take a draw on both, though.
Yeah, you probably would. You probably would consider, and I guarantee you that's what he'll be playing for.
And then you're just gambling on other teams' results.
Yeah, and it's come back on the arse today as well. I think that the games that we've got to look at winning, and that is Burnley away and Sheffield United at home, and then that sets up a mammoth game, last game of the season, because it will go down to the last game of the season, and it's going to be
believe it is as well.
And this is the third time now this has happened, and it's a lot of this has to be aimed at Ashley and Charnley, particularly Charnley. Charnley should know fucking better. I think he's worked for Newcastle for about nearly 20 years, so pre-exists Mike Ashley. Lee Charnley should know better. He should know better. He's been there before, Ashley. He knew what it was like before. He should know full well, not go along and say how well this club is run, because he does and genuinely believes. I know people that have been in meetings with him, and Lee Charnley genuinely believes the club is run really well.
I think, I guess
a deluded fuckwit.
Yeah, he's clearly only looking at that from a financial perspective, aren't they? As a business, and that means fuck all in football.
No, I agree. That's not good financially.
Well, for some reason to them, they think it is.
It's almost like a movie, right? Like, it's going to come down to the last game of the season, and we luckily stay up because of a 1-0 win over Fulham, and then
Geordie Sancaster's being quite positive in the chat, which I like. So,
yeah, absolutely, because it's in our hands.
Yeah, I was just going to ask him why he thinks that we're going to stay up. Where, like, just out of interest, Geordie, where do you think we're going to get points from? Because obviously we're very frustrated and being negative, which is understandable, but positivity as well. I want to know where you think we might get those points from. I don't think we'll get a result against Villa.
No.
I said today, like, I'm really nervous about today's game, and if you draw, I think we are relegated, or it has to come down to the last game against Fulham.
Today was the chance to get some real breathing space between us, and even though Fulham won, because we would have had.
How has he not seen it like that? I can't fucking talk about it.
You tell me, man.
And you could see it coming from a mile away. That he said in his pre-match presser, it's not a must-win game. And I know he wanted the next sentence. He wanted to say it's mustn't lose. I guarantee you he wanted to say that, but stopped himself. And it was. He set out like he mustn't lose this game, like he did at Sheffield United, which was an absolute farce. an absolute farce. And then he will do the same on Friday night at Villa, who will probably have Grealish back, knowing our luck.
Yeah.
And the thing is, after that Wolves game last week, I was frustrated because I thought we'd done enough to win the game. And I thought we were good enough for 3 points and we were valuable enough for 3 points. Today, no, nowhere near. Exactly. Looking ahead at Villa very briefly before we've got the last word. Please give this video a like if you've scored Steve Bruce a 0 or 1. By the way, oh, Jesus, how can some pundits still have faith and trust in Bruce?
Because they're all in the same WhatsApp group with him, probably, mate. But half of them that talk about it, they're from the same sort of era. Like, none of them would last in this in the Premier League anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, very true. Geordie Sandcaster's answered your question, Carl. You think we'll beat Villa? I mean, I'd love to because my housemate's a Villa fan, otherwise known as my wife.
I know someone else who would love to beat Villa. It's not me.
I would. Of course I would, 100%. But it's that aside.
Lee as well. Lee hates Villa as much as me and Carl, but the way Villa they're having a great season.
They are.
And look at how they've progressed since they got rid of Steve Bruce.
Absolutely. Like, there was a lot of Villa fans that called for Dean Smith's head when they went for a bad run of form, but stuck with him. And like you just said, look at what they've done as a club. Like, they're completely different. Let's not even forget, 2 seasons ago, they were on the verge of administration. They were. And look at them now.
Yeah, if they didn't come up, they would have been in the shit financially.
Absolutely.
And they only stayed up last season because the freaking goal line technology was switched off.
Well, I'm not getting involved in that just in case there's no fans in the chat.
It's fact, but I'm complimenting them in a kind of a backhand compliment because look at how they're doing now. They're absolutely flying. And fair play to them as much as it pains me to say it, but I hope to God we beat them on Friday.
Yeah.
I do have some faith, though, that maybe we can get a quick recovery from ASM, Miggy, or Wilson. Mostly important probably is Wilson.
You shouldn't have to bank on it. At the end of the day, we were playing against a championship team, and Fraser, Joelinton, and like Jacob Murphy, Dwight Gale, they should be good enough to stick a goal past them. And to bring Andy Carroll on for 30 seconds is an absolute disgrace. And this would have been a perfect game for Elliot Anderson, but
you know what this substitute was to us Newcastle fans. It was a big.
Yeah, it was, mate. I absolutely agree. It's exactly what it was. It's exactly what it was.
Yeah, it was. He's got to go, and he's got to go 3 months ago. Lee's coming up with the last word in 2 minutes' time, and then we'll be doing it all over again next Friday night, as per. So my thanks to Carl and my thanks to Brandon, who, I mean, you've been necking them back all day, haven't you?
I know, yeah.
But for how long? We will be doing this every week. Before
Absolutely.
we're in Championship.
I'm not doing another season in the Championship. Please, no. Please, no.
Is that you resigning from NXTV then?
No. I'd say we'd do a poll, but I think I'd be very scared about the results.
I think you'd be fine, mate.
I don't know. Yeah, Steve Bruce gets 1 or a 0. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the join button, and become a member. Plenty of extra content there. Lee's starting with the last word now. Head on over and stay tuned to Newcastle Fans TV.